today is the 3rd of April, 2023. I would like today to focus on a topic that I have visited before. I am going to revisit it today, and it is solar energy for the poor. It is a topic that is quite broad. I have mentioned a few aspects and points on it before, namely that solar energy is commonly and usually expensive, quite costly, especially considering initial costs, and it is by and large not accessible to the very poorest of us, the working poor, the people at or below the poverty line here in the US and in fact throughout the world. And the technologies for generating energy, whether it's solar, wind, geothermal, or in fact any other alternative energy outside of the conventional fossil fuel, coal-based energies available in most areas, these other alternative energies are too expensive for most working poor or outright poor people. I've mentioned this before, that these people also are the ones that need alternative energies the most. These are the people that are hurting because of the high energy rates mandated by your local electrical company. Again, a for-profit corporation for the most part in most areas. And these high prices are detrimental, critical, painful for majority of the people that receive it, which are working poor, poor people, people of lower middle class, people of low wage, low income, low resources, low assets. And these are the people that, again, need it the most because they could do away with these high bills. They basically are the ones that need it the least. They need financial relief, resource relief the most, and yet they are the ones that are paying the highest percentage of their income in energy. When you compare working poor, people at the poverty line, poor people, the amount of money that they dish out, that they spend on energy, the percentage is much higher than those people in the higher echelons of the economy, middle class and up. Upper middle class, the rich, the wealthy, the well-to-do, the millionaires, and very rich business owners, landowners, the property owners of the country, of the nation, are the ones paying the least amount as far as percentage of their income in energy. They're usually given many breaks in taxes, many breaks in their property taxes, many breaks on their energy use, because they are very much wanted by the communities where they live. They're very much wanted by the communities and places where they own, whether it be residential property, commercial property, industrial property, etc. I've also mentioned that these people, the rich and the powerful, the people that need alternative energies the least, are the ones that could afford it because of the high cost of many of the equipment, many of the technologies, many of the installation fees, infrastructure that is required by these new alternative energies. The rich and powerful are the ones buying it, are the ones that could afford it. Therefore, the industry as a whole, in general, is gearing up. For the most part, is gearing up to cater to these people. They have high-end, very fancy equipment that is basically designed, built, serviced for these people, for the powerful, for the rich, so they keep the prices up because the demand is basically concentrated on the upper echelons of the economy. And this is bad news for the poor. This is bad news for a majority of us, the people that don't make as much money, low income earners. Even medium income earners are very much discouraged and dissuaded from purchasing and investing in alternative energies because of the high costs. They rather stick it with their local power company or electrical company rather than spend thousands of dollars that they rather save and buy themselves a car with, or a home, or put a pool in their backyard. A lot of people rather do these things that are much more readily visible, usable, so they think, and readily available. And they can just keep paying their power bill as they have since they were born. Parents, grandparents, loved ones, caretakers have been paying for the power bill. So it's something that's already been ingrained in their culture, their upbringing, their conscience as normal. This is something as normal as getting up in the morning and going to bed at night for them, paying for their power. So they might as well just keep doing it. And although it may be hurting them financially, in other ways, they may be hurting the environment. They may be feeding a system that is monopolistic, corrupt,
and abusive.
They have grown in it, around it, and they see it as the norm. They see it as something that must be done, and they see it as a duty, something that they must also take part of. They're also highly encouraged by their society, by their community, by their neighbors, by their family and friends to do just that and feed the monster. These people that very much need relief, the desperate, the poor, the low income, the low resource, people with the lowest education, training, those people that have just recently arrived, the recent immigrants, the people in the lower echelons of our society, the ones that need the relief, financial relief the most, are the ones that can least afford alternative energies like solar energy. And they are often curious, very interested in it because of this need for it, this need to lower or get rid of their power bill, which is, again, among the highest bills they have. However, all that interest, all that curiosity, all that
fascination
they may have with alternative energies such as solar dwindles away, fades away very quickly, and it is spooked off very quickly by the high cost, high price of these technologies. I have spoken with many people that are very interested, they're fascinated, they are curious, very excited about solar technologies, what the potential of the technology is, what the potential ramifications of disconnecting from the grid and saving on energy, generating their own energy, and not needing the power company. They are very, very excited about that prospect. However, when we start talking numbers, the cost of inverters, which could be several hundred to thousands of dollars in many cases, when we start speaking about batteries and how these can cost from many hundreds to several $1,000s, and then the solar modules, the panels could cost many hundreds to thousands of dollars, perhaps over $10,000 in many cases. A complete solar system could be several tens of thousands of dollars. We're talking about from $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. And these are amounts that are
outrageous
for poor people, for working poor. Even middle class people are aghast and agape when they hear these numbers, because it is something just outside of their everyday consideration, outside of their everyday expectations.
Frame of reference.
When it comes to power, when they hear power or electrical, they think of their bill, they think of how much they pay every month, which is usually $150, $175, $200, maybe $220, $250. That's what they have as a reference to think about the expenditure that they are asked to consider alternative energies. In one hand, looking at their power bill, which they already have going, it changes from month to month. Some months are lower, some months are higher. However, they are in the $100, maybe $200 range. And then they're handed this other option of going with alternative energies as a replacement or as a supplement, basically to offset their energy use. But they're being told they have to spend $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 up front. And that's not where it ends. The expenditures may keep going with their power company, even though it may be most likely a much lower amount. Eventually, once they get through all the hurdles that the power company is going to throw at them, which also have a monetary cost, financial, time, resource cost, they are very quickly discouraged because of the cost. In very few occasions will you find someone with the determination and the fortitude and the willpower to go through all of these hurdles, financial and otherwise, and keep their interest in alternative energies and perhaps go through with an installation. A lot of them, they just don't have the money up front. They have to look for financing options through their bank that is willing to lend them such amount of money, again in thousands of dollars. They have to think about the payments that they will make. They have to compare that payment with the payments that they are already making to the power company and the ease to which they could just keep paying the power company and not do anything, not to change anything. So it is an uphill battle. for salespeople that sell these alternative energies, and it is an uphill battle for the adoption of these technologies by the majority of the people, which are, again, middle class and down. Over 50%, I want to say even more, of the United States population falls at or below the middle class, which is the working class that lives paycheck to paycheck. They depend on that weekly, bi-weekly paycheck that they get, monthly paycheck, to survive, to sustain themselves and their families, their loved ones, to pay for the cost of living, whether it be in housing, power, water, all the bills that most people pay on a daily basis. Most working people pay. The majority of the country has to worry about that. And to ask of them to dish out, to give up several thousands to several tens of thousands of dollars is a very, extremely tough sale. Other than utilizing many deceptive practices, as the trend has gone to with alternative energies and solar, it is very difficult to be honest, to be straightforward with people and have them make that huge investment. Again, with the exception of the upper middle class and higher wealth families, people of high wealth. Those people are much easier sell because they have the extra cash, the extra funds laying around mostly, and a lot of times they have a higher education, higher training level. And a lot of times, many of these people are aware of what's going on with the environment, what's going on with the politics of fossil fuels, the harm and damage that fossil fuels are making. And they are also curious and interested in having an edge, having an advantage over other individuals, other people. And alternative energies do offer this advantage. Having backup power, having power that could possibly be what the future brings. Very likely that solar energy is going to keep growing and perhaps go to the point to rival fossil fuel energies. And many higher income people are aware that the earlier they get in the game, the better off they will be with alternative energies. They may take advantage of getting in early, gaining that experience, gaining that infrastructure, starting up that infrastructure that may become more difficult to attain in the future, more expensive even, as more and more companies get into the game, get into the industry. Resources may be harder to get because companies may have already a foothold on resources such as lithium mines, supply chains, etc. So those resources may increase in price, and therefore the technology, the equipment may increase in price as well.
More importantly, people of high wealth are in the position to take advantage of any government incentive on alternative or renewable energy installations. So they are the group that take advantage of those financial incentives the most.
So getting in early may have advantages, and these people know that. Again, the people of lower income have very little choices when it comes to getting in early on this industry. They depend on the lower quality, lower price or cost equipment, technologies, and a lot of times this equipment and these technologies are not as effective. They're not as reliable, not as well built as the more fancy, more expensive technologies. However, this is where I come in with the new information, new material for this topic, is that poor people, people of low income, have more flexibility as far
as how many
concessions, sacrifice they can make. They have more flexibility to change their energy consumption to match to that lower quality or lower capacity equipment. For example, lower wattage, lower power, lower capability of the equipment. So they can, for example, purchase a smaller system and be just fine, live the lifestyle that they are very much used to and comfortable with. This is much more difficult to do with someone used to the pampered life, used to the very comfortable and high energy consumption lifestyle, high maintenance lifestyle. And these people, again, require a lot more power. Reminds me of a certain documentary I've seen several years ago. I believe it's called
Before the Flood, released in 2016.
With Leonardo DiCaprio, the movie star, and I remember clearly how he was talking to a very prominent lady in the environmental justice movement throughout the world. I believe her name is
Vandana Shiva.
The substance of the interview was that people must make concessions first before thinking about taking steps to save the environment, improve the environmental problems, pollution, the greenhouse effect, global warming. To improve all of this, we must first begin to make concessions on a personal level, meaning use less energy, use energy a lot more efficiently, use energy a lot more smartly, use the correct, proper types of energy, and begin to abandon the wrong types of energies, which are fossil fuels. In other words, we must decarbonize, we must defossilize our sources of energy. And the response from DiCaprio was that that will not happen in America. That is, he implied that it is nearly impossible for the rich and the powerful, as he is very much part of that class community of the rich and powerful. He acknowledged that these people will not concede their comfort, they will not sacrifice their lavish lifestyles, they will not give up their big mansions, their very large air-conditioned spaces, their very inefficient vehicles. They just won't give any of these things up. They won't give up their partying lifestyles with expensive dinners, with expensive parties, expensive clothing that require tons of energy to manufacture, to keep up, to maintain. These people waste a lot of resources and energy. That is just the lifestyle that they have adopted, and it has been passed on for generations. And they have grown an economy around it, whether it's in places like Los Angeles, Hollywood, Beverly Hills, places in many other areas of the country where the rich and powerful billionaires roll, in New York City, Philadelphia, Chicago, lined with millionaires and billionaires. That is just the lifestyle that these people carry, and it is very difficult or even nearly impossible for them to change their mind, to give that up. And this is what
Vandana Shiva
was advocating, and this is what I also believe to be very, very difficult for the upper wealth classes to adopt, a lower energy lifestyle. Poor people, again, have the flexibility of turning off more lights, of switching their cooking equipment or appliances. They can very well go from that old electric stove to a gas stove affordably. They can very well go from cooking with electric power to cooking with wood, to cooking with coals, to cooking with LP gas on a manufactured stove. They can live without air conditioning in many areas of the country. They can lower their air conditioning capacity. They can just switch to window air conditioning units instead of that central air conditioning unit. They can do without heat a lot easier than rich and powerful people can. They have a much smaller footprint, by and large, 99% of the time, than rich and powerful people. They have the smaller homes that they don't have to keep cool or warm 24 hours a day. They are more flexible and more willing to open up windows when the weather is nice outside, which is very many days and nights throughout the year in many, many areas of the United States, with perhaps very few exceptions, and not being used to being pampered so much. They are willing to
be a little less comfortable,
which is all mostly, I'm not going to say all, but mostly in the mind, in how you choose to feel. You could be just fine at 55-degree weather. You could be just fine at 95-degree weather. It is mostly in the mind. And the poor, working poor, people in the poverty line are more willing, from my experience, me being part of that group, more willing to endure these temperatures, these conditions, which that range I just gave you, 55 to 95, it is about normal, livable, and very comfortable in most instances for the human body. You can very much acclimatize to a 55-degree weather, no problem, or on the hotter end, a 95-degree weather, no problem. Your body is very much capable of acclimatizing to that and be very, very comfortable in those temperatures. Of course, you have to make choices about your clothing, about your environment, about whether you open windows a little more or a little less, whether you make use of sunlight a little better. As I've explained in many of my technical videos, chats about solar energy and other types of alternative energies and techniques to take advantage of the natural energy that's available, such as sunlight, wind, shade, insulation, etc. To go back to the conundrum that poor people find themselves in with alternative energies is that they have the least access to banks, the least access to loans and credit to purchase the more expensive solar and alternative energy equipment needed for set up a system and generate their own energy and be off the grid. Banks usually require good credit and good standing in a bank or in your financial situation before they even consider giving you a loan, let alone giving you a good rate on a loan, meaning low interest rates. Poor and lower middle class people often depend on the higher rate loans, higher interest rate loans from pawn shops, title loan places, and from loan sharks. These companies have loans that are detrimental, that are harmful for the very people that need the most relief. And I highly discourage that. I basically plead for you not to even consider getting a loan from these places for alternative energies. That is just going to hurt you more than anything else. Because if what you're looking for is financial relief by getting into a loan, it is not, repeat, not going to help in that sense. What you're looking for is to save or help the environment, help the global environmental situation that we're going through. Being in financial distress and financial upheaval is not going to help the situation. It is just going to probably hurt the situation. So don't think for a minute that your contribution to the environment should be at the behest or at the sacrifice of your own financial well-being. And this brings the next point, which is alternative energies, alternative technologies can be affordable and can be afforded by people of all financial levels, poor people included, working poor people included, middle class, lower middle class people included. Even the poorest among us could switch to alternative energies altogether, could dump the conventional grid as they should, could stop being part of the grid, could be off the grid, and they can do it affordably. However, the only set of requirements for this is ingenuity, creativity, perseverance, willingness, willpower must be there, must be strong. All of these things must be there. You have to be willing to learn, you have to be willing to concede or sacrifice a little, and be flexible and change. First, again, you have to concede your comforts with power. You have to recognize that you need to use a lot less power. You need to change the way you do things. You need to transform in many, many ways to adjust to what you can afford. There are many, many levels of financial status, so I can't really get into the fine details as to how much each person could afford and how much they should sacrifice, they should change. There are as many levels and as many different configurations of equipment and different prices and different lifestyles as you can imagine. You can go from living a very Spartan lifestyle, not using hardly any power at all, to living a lifestyle that is very much like right now, what you're living right now, with alternative energy equipment, solar equipment. It all depends how much you concede or sacrifice and how much you spend and how much technical knowledge you have or you gain. These are factors that are variable to extremes, whether it be the most basic extreme to the most complex extreme. You may go with technologies that I don't even know about. You may go with technologies that are ancient, that are occult, that have not been used for many, many years by anyone. You may employ technologies that are very new, that are very innovative, at the edge of the envelope, when it comes to developments, you may be somewhere in between. So again, there are many factors, many situations that we basically don't have much time or the resources to go into all of them. But I can give you a few examples. If you are a person of a very low income and you really want to get off the grid, be self-sustained, you want to stop paying for those high power bills, you can. And you can do it just about anywhere. You may have to navigate the stipulations, requirements, demands made by your government, by your community, by your power company, by your neighborhood. You may have to navigate those, and that's okay. You can do that. It may take time. It may take some effort. It may take some maneuvering, but you can definitely do it in most instances. Here in the U.S., we have the luck of being part of a free society where you are very much free to do or not to do certain things, especially when it comes to paying. You are not by any means required or mandated or forced to pay. Paying, it is not and it cannot be a mandatory thing for anyone, because many people may be disabled, many people may not be able to work, many people may not have the money, many people may have other priorities. You may not believe in the service provided. You may, by whatever belief or reason, not want any one service provided that you have to pay for. So you cannot be made to pay, including your power, your water, your cable bill, your cell phone bill, or your internet connection. You don't have to pay for any of these things. You just have to turn it off. You can turn off what is called the main circuit breaker in your home, your apartment, tiny home, trailer, in your mobile home, wherever you live. Whether it be out in the woods with a power pole in your property, you don't have to use that power that has been installed there for you against your will in many cases, or without even your consent. You don't have to use it. You can just keep that main breaker off.
Keep that main breaker off.
At that point, the power company is going to wonder what is going on with you. They're going to look at you with contempt, with distrust, with suspicion, as are your neighbors perhaps. So society will look at you differently. That's okay. You are now one of the very few people that have made a choice to live differently, have made a choice to live off the grid for the many reasons I have listed. It could be many reasons that I have not listed. It doesn't matter. You have made the choice to live off the grid, to produce and maintain your own electrical generator, and you have decided to live off of the energy that you yourself have generated with your equipment, with your infrastructure, with your knowledge. So the power company in most areas, I believe, still have a fee that you must pay. This fee is basically the minimum that you have to pay just to maintain the power company. That is your contribution to the community having power. They claim that the power rates are lower because of this interconnection between homes and people in a community, in a city, in a state, and everyone contributes. That's why power is less. That's what they claim. Doesn't seem to be in many cases, perhaps most, that people are uncomfortably paying for power. They are, for the most part, not comfortable with the amounts that they are being charged month in and month out. Unless you're getting subsidized, if you're paying what your power company is charging, 100% of it, then you're most likely not comfortable with that amount. Most of the country, which is again middle class or below, is not comfortable with the amounts they're paying, so they should not be made to pay.
Should not be made to pay.
So let's again say that you have decided not to pay. Your power company will wonder, call you perhaps, write at you, send you notifications. They will even come investigate to see what is going on. They want to make sure that you're not stealing power or whatever the case may be. Once they clear you, you will probably be put on a vacant property rate, and the city may get involved. They may have requirements for you to be on electric power. The county may get involved. The state may get involved. There may be areas where you are required to have energy. More than just that vacant rate that you pay, they may require you to have energy to your home and use it. There are many areas that are draconian this way and that are very much abusive this way. So you may have to find that out. You may find out after you have disconnected. So once you disconnect, you realize that you have to generate a very steady and very dependable income so you can pay for that bill, so you can live your life. Wake up in the morning and be able to cook your breakfast or warm up your leftovers. You want to be able to take a warm shower. You want to be able to have some kind of airflow at your place of living, at your home or apartment. You may want to be a bit comfortable in the hottest days and coldest days of the year. Have some sort of air conditioning, air cooling, or air heating. So for this, you need energy. You may want to pop up in your computer, take care of a few things, surf the internet. You may want to stream online, which is quite popular right now, perhaps rivaling conventional cable. You may want to send a few emails or check your bank accounts online, something that's increasingly being done through cell phones. So you may not have to open your computer for it. But you need to charge that cell phone. You need to keep things charged. You need to cook and clean and be comfortable. And this requires energy. A lot of the equipment that you may have may already be electric. Most people have a lot of their appliances and equipment running on electricity. So it may be very, very difficult for you to turn all that stuff off. It may be very inconvenient. It may be very difficult to switch technologies to keep that stuff running on alternative energies. And that's the stuff that you have to think about. That's the stuff that costs money and the stuff that is going to have you do the sacrifices required to adjust to this new lifestyle.